the first time that you have something and you're trying to offload it to someone else, it would be easier for you to do it yourself. That's absolute truth. But you're always going to be doing it. And if you start to do the math of 10 minutes a week and start compounding that over a few years, and you're like, whoa, that is a massive amount of time. I probably could have done X in that time. And really the value of your time is much higher. So is it easier to do yourself in this moment? Yes. In the long run, you're paying a very, very large price. To those people that say it didn't work, I'm saying you're in the crowd of about 99%.
If you're struggling with your vitality, energy, mood, focus, or sleep, this podcast is for you. Your host, Dr. Tsung, ER doctor and aerospace flight surgeon, will help you reach for the stars and remove the barriers or blockades that have been holding you back from living your best life. If you've been challenged by your health, relationships, or productivity, then it's time for a breakthrough. So here's your host, Dr. Tsung.
Hello, welcome to It's Not Rocket Science Show, and I am your host, Dr. Tsung. And today we have part 2 with Scott Rammage, who is going to be talking to us on everything on virtual assistants, why you need a virtual assistant, and what a virtual assistant can do for you in terms of your personal life, your business, and what life actually looks like. What kind of tasks can you actually delegate to them? And also the onboarding process, the price and the cost of hiring a VA, either part-time or full-time. So this is going to be information-packed value, tons of value. And if you missed part 1, just go back to the prior episode, talk a little bit more on social media and about his background. But here we're going to be doing a very short introduction, and also why are you so good at recruiting VAs and know so much about VA, Scott?
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. So like you said, I go listen to that episode because it'll tell you all my background and give you an idea of how you can leverage VAs that you might not really quite understand until you listen to that. But I find joy in matchmaking. I have a degree in psychology. I have a degree in education. So I've done a lot of time training. I've done a lot of time looking at human behavior, personality assessments. And I absolutely love getting to know individuals with just incredible skills in other countries. So, and I've hired hundreds and hundreds of virtual assistants for myself and for my own business, and then for other individuals like you. So I'm very qualified to do this.
And how many VAs have you gone through or currently have or interviewed, would you say?
So personally in my company, I have over 25 Filipino VAs myself that I employ almost exclusively full-time. And then I have probably, through the process of error, I've done a very good job. I have very high retention, but I probably hired a total of 60 for my business over the years. And then I've hired, I don't know, who knows how many for direct clients who just needed me to hire them a VA for them to take on and manage. And so, and I've trained probably thousands of people on the process as well.
Wow. And what do your VAs do for you?
So everything. I got my very first VA when I was doing contract work, and I started a podcast. So that's where I started, was like, oh my gosh, I started this podcast and now I don't have time to do all the things and I can't leverage it away. So that's how I got into the VA world. And as I was contracting, I'm like, wow, I have to do these reports every week and this report every month. And I have to fill out this form and I have to do this. All of that is repeatable. And I just started to stack these things, and it was incredibly powerful. And before I knew it, probably just a few months in, I had 3 full-time VAs, and I was leveraging myself, like doing things that I needed to be doing and not doing the things that I didn't need to be spending my time on, but were absolutely necessary in earning income and moving my ideas and businesses and everything in the right direction. And it's evolved from there, where I created an agency for small business owners, kind of taking all of the management hiring work out of the VA and just offering the service. And then found another niche in doing placement services for VAs, finding them positions with people like yourself who were ready to have a VA, but didn't want to go through the learning process and the time it takes to really properly vet and go through that. So I hope that answered your question.
Yeah. I didn't tell the audience that, yes, Scott actually helped me hire my first like full-time VA. I've had other part-time VAs, before, and did not have a very good experience. And especially during the recruiting process, it's very time consuming. And so we'll talk a little bit more about his process, but thank you for doing all that for me. So,
You're welcome.
and so why do people need VAs? Because a lot of times when I talk to people, a lot of times it's like, it's better, it's easier if I just do it myself. I don't know if I can trust them. I don't know even where to begin to hire a VA. They cost a lot. I don't have any tasks to give them that's full time, et cetera, et cetera. So what do you think is, some of the whys to leverage a VA?
I want to do the trust thing first, because this is really interesting. It's been a question that started to bombard me lately. And my mentor, who's hired and placed thousands and thousands of VAs, just wrote an article about this. And so I was like, oh, thank goodness. And his whole thing was like, can you really trust anybody, even if they're in your building? I mean, really, quite honestly, we have to put a little level of trust, but the answer is you shouldn't trust someone implicitly. It's all about building a relationship and then keeping parameters in place. So I want to address that first of all. Like, there's risk in anybody you bring into your world. It's inherent. However, where I source from, I'm absolutely minimizing the possibility of that through cultural reasons, the laws in the area. There's all sorts of reasons why I source where I source from, and where I really recommend everybody do, and that's the Philippines. We can get into that if we want to, but you basically hit most of the objections I've ever heard. Like, it would just be easier for me to do it myself. So the first time that you have something and you're trying to offload it to someone else, it would be easier for you to do it yourself. That's absolute truth. But you're always going to be doing it. And if you start to do the math, even if it's like, for me, like I have multiple Facebook groups. I don't accept anybody in and keep track of their data. My team does that and they welcome them. If I were to take that back on, it's easy. It takes me 10 minutes a week, maybe. We'll start doing the math of 10 minutes a week and start compounding that over a few years. And you've saved, I haven't done the math. I should have done it ahead of time, but you're like, whoa, that is a massive amount of time. I probably could have done X in that time. And really the value of your time is much higher. We'll talk more about that. So when you start actually doing the math, sure, I had to go in and do it with excellence and show and record it and show how I do it, so that my team or my VA could make an SOP. And then maybe they mess it up the first few times. I got to correct or kind of massage it into the position I want. But then it's hands off and it's just getting done. So easier doing it yourself. If you do it wrong, yeah, because there are systems and processes and techniques to use to get your team or your VA to actually learn to do it, how you would do it. And what I found, Anne, is that over time, they will end up doing research and saying, hey, Scott, like, this is how you showed me to do it. I did some research and we could save time and have more effectiveness doing it this way. Do you mind if I add that to the SOP or change the SOP? I'm like, yeah, please do. And so that's been hugely pivotal, because you have someone else who's taking the time to actually research and do and change and modify, because they want to keep their job. They want to be that superhero for you. So is it easier to do yourself? In this moment, yes. In the long run, you're paying a very, very large price. To those people that say it didn't work, I'm saying you're in the crowd of about 99%. I'm very lucky. My first 3 VAs, I think I still have them. One of them is like literally running my company and part of my company. And then another one is like my main producer. So I did it right the first few times, but I went down the rabbit holes. I went and took masterminds. I took classes that were online. I watched videos. I did all the research beforehand and I nailed it. Why it doesn't work is because really people just hire a VA. So they just find something online. They hire someone, maybe it's Upwork or whatever. They're trusting what they say they can do. And then they have no clue of actually what to do once they get them. It's like, well, I don't know what to give them. And the other thing is, Anne, is they hire them hourly. Well, typically, if you're hiring a VA hourly, they're going to find as many jobs as possible to meet their needs, which could be like 60 to 80 hours a week. And so I learned very early on that if you want to not be successful, pay somebody hourly for 10 to 15 hours a week of work. Because you're not going to hear from them. If your job isn't as fast as all the other jobs, they're going to just stop doing it. And you're going to be like, what's going on? And so, yeah, it doesn't work because you didn't set yourself up. You didn't set your VA up for success out of the gates. So I think I just addressed most of what you talked about there.
Yeah. Thank you. My first two VAs were part-time. So I think that's part of the reason.
Mm-hmm.
What would you say to people about the time difference between the Filipino VA and South American VA? Because some people think that it's better to hire South American, Central American, so they could be in the same time zone.
So because I've done over 20 interviews this week alone, and it's only Wednesday. So in 2 days, I did 20 interviews with VAs, and I ask every single person I interview, what's your preferred time of work? In the Philippines, their preferred time of work is working overnight. Most of the US is between 12 and 15 hours behind the Philippines. So it's almost like inverse. And they prefer working at night because it's cooler and it's not so muggy. And then a lot of them have families and they're getting their kids to school and then sleeping when their kids are in school. It's very, very typical. So they actually prefer to work on our time zones, American time zones. And most of them come from the BPO industry. BPO is like customer service, phone and chat customer service. And most of them are working for like telco companies like Verizon, AT&T, Charter, those folks. And they're actually talking with Americans. This is a great, look for people from the BPO if you want them to actually be interacting, because they've really established their English. And so those telco companies hire them through the night. They get used to the graveyard. They fall in love with it. And so South America, I've done it. And I had one great individual from South America. Every single other one was an absolute bust. And I don't want to put blanket statements on people, but when the evidence is always the same, I'll just tell you, you start at a rate, it's higher than in the Philippines. You start at a rate and within days they're asking for raises. It is across the board. And then I think there's just a lot of knowledge. If you tell them your phone breaks, they'll buy you a phone. And if you tell them your, X broke down and you can't do X, you need a new computer, they'll buy you a computer. So there's these little things that happen almost every single time. It's crazy. It's just proven over and over again. So I am exclusive to the Philippines for so many reasons. And it can work. It can work in South America. Absolutely. In Central America, but it's more of an outlier.
Yeah. So regarding the time zone, they can work anytime you want, really. If you hire the right one, they will work anytime you want. And I want to touch on, the reason why you want them is because you don't want to, work below your zone of genius. You want to be out there creating, you want to be out there spending time with your family instead of for example, I work as needed shifts in the ICU, and I need to every shift, every month, I had to fill out these logs, the date, the hours, my position, calculate the hours, sign it, send it off. I mean, to task switch, that task, yes, the actual task is 5 minutes, but turning on the computer, logging on, finding that email. Where's that document? I don't know where it is. Let me go search in my email to that last document that was emailed to me. I mean, that could take 15 to 30 minutes. And you have to do this every month instead of spending cooking, or if you like cooking, or spending time with your kids, or, just like feeding my baby. I'd rather be doing that. So I have outsourced to my VA to just do that document. Now I just like do an audio text. Hey, can you log my hours? This time to this time, these dates. He already has my form with my signature on it. Send it to that person and done. It was so simple.
Well, that is such a good example. And the beauty of it is we don't develop our own standard operating procedures, SOPs. We don't develop them for ourselves. We just rely on memory. And like you said, a task that may take 5 minutes, you forget you have to search for the forms yet because you haven't developed the system. You haven't, like, I have a personal operating system, so I have everything categorized. That's pretty unique, but you are forced into actually standardizing things when you bring someone else. It's like, oh, well, wow, if I arrange all the documents here and give them to them and just record what I want them to do, and then say, hey, create an SOP. Key tip number 1, everything you assign should be created into a formal SOP so that you can, and the way I spin this to my new VAs is like, look, everything you do, you have to create a SOP. And here's what I want it to look like. But I'm not trying to replace you. What I might do, though, is hire more VAs. And if you're the right person, you could be leading them. And the last thing you want to do is retrain them on everything you already do, so you can do even cooler things. So create the SOP so you can just hand it to them. And then we can grow as a company or as a business or as a team. And so that's the one way to get them not to be fearful of recording everything they do. But so now you're like, you have a system. Like now it's systemized, but you know this, I know this because I'm a productivity nerd. I've studied productivity. Every time you switch a task, the minimum you lose in efficiency is 20%, the minimum. And it can go up all the way up to 80% loss in productivity for every little thing. Oh, where is that? And your brain is switching, right? And it's just, it's horrible. And what you think takes 10 minutes is probably really edging along 30 minutes of your day.
Yeah, exactly. And you like having a VA, well, we're going to get into like the tasks that the VAs can do for you later, like envision what kind of sample tasks they can do. So I do want to, make sure that people understand that having a VA starting off can accelerate your growth, can give you more time for your family. Those are your whys, can, allow you to do minimal things instead of like things that you hate, because life is too short for you to be doing things that, give you resistance in life. And it shouldn't be that way. And so those are kind of the whys I hire a VA. And can you give some examples of different like social media, personal life or business, and, people in like coaching or, anything, like just some examples of tasks that VAs can help them do?
Yeah.
Start with personal first, maybe.
I have a list of things and it's very long. So personal, let's start big. Maybe you're going on a family vacation. And I did this with my wife when I took her on our 25th anniversary, a summer and a half ago to Costa Rica. Like normally I just take her and kind of like figure out what we were going to do. I'm like, I have this VA. Hey, here's where we're going. I want you to research everything we can do in the area, every place we can eat. Do I need net reservations? What am I supposed to dress like? What should I pack? What are some of the things I should stay away from? And I had like a guide packet. And so I didn't pack things I shouldn't have packed. I knew to pack a certain kind of shirt and a certain kind of pants. I didn't spend time looking it up. So I literally had a guide. And then I could say, hey, babe, we're going to go eat on the beach. And because I knew to reserve that, and I could have my VA reserve it. So that's just one of them. Like if you have kids, like what can I do with my kids? Where should we go? Think of research, big projects, planning travel. Maybe you're doing a company or a family get together, and you want to have different activities that you've never done before, or like, what's the best kind of food we should be doing? And I want it to be different. So there's so many things that they can do to research. They can order your groceries for you, especially if you're pretty consistent. They can do Amazon orders. I mean, think about how much time you're like, I need to buy batteries. Instead of going into Amazon and looking at batteries, finding the right type, comparing prices, just do a voice record, like you said, or drop a note. Hey, I need AAA batteries. I don't want off-brand, but I want the best price I can get on Duracells or whatever it is. Or read all the reviews and get me the best priced, fastest delivered, whatever your criteria is. But that stuff robs you of very valuable time. And unless it's like a hobby, I love shopping on Amazon, like hand it over where you give up the control of it. And sure, there's going to be some misses. Like there's going to be some things that you're like, oh my gosh, that was not. But like I was alluding to earlier, those are opportunities to correct so that the person really gets to understand you. Those are opportunities for growth, because the more you can catch those things and correct them, the more and more like you that person's going to start acting. And so, a lot of research-based, ordering things, personal finances, bookkeeping. Like if you trust build some trust first, but offload the bookkeeping, offload the receipts. I had mine just like every day, every morning. Today you have 5 appointments. It's going to be a really jam-packed day. You have lunch blocked out. Make sure you stick to your schedule or you're not going to have time to eat. Like literally those things made a huge difference for me, like a daily report. Because otherwise I'm going in and I'm reading my calendar and I'm trying to assimilate all this information and form it into something. Have someone else send that to you the night before. It's really powerful. It really is. Or like, hey, can you kind of look at the weather for the next 10 days so I kind of have an idea of what I'm up against, instead of you spending time scrolling through the weather app. It's crazy. It's crazy. And once you kind of get the hang of it, you lift the lid on you start to think this way. And one tool I'm going to tell everybody to do, if you're considering a VA, or if you have one, or if you're going to step right into one, start doing a self-audit every single day. At the end of the day, what did I do today that I don't need to do tomorrow? Or I only need to do one more time? Because if I can record myself doing it or explain to my VA how to do it, that's the last time I ever have to do it. And so that audit, like literally I'll go through my calendar, I'll go through my to-do list. I'm like, why am I doing that? And sometimes it takes me months to identify. Sometimes it's something I want to nail down the exact way I want it before I pass it on. But I know at that point I'm passing on and it's gone, it's done. And so, start big, like those big things, and kind of start to understand the process and help your VA understand kind of the feedback or the style of what you want is. And that's one of the most important things, is starting a little slow to kind of this get to know you and them really understanding how you operate.
Yeah, I think, it's been a few months now, and the more I work with him, the more stuff I have for him. Like, for example, some of the personal things, like my son is 5.5 months old. Hey, can you research the top 5 swimming lessons for 5-month-olds around the area that's Red Cross certified and within 5 miles? The price, the start date, the duration of the classes, and et cetera. Those take forever to Google. Number 2, I had him go look, we're buying, a primary home. Hey, I want all the Black Friday sales on Samsung, LG, KitchenAid, washer, dryer, fridge, in Costco, Best Buy, what else? Those big furniture stores.
Mm-hmm.
And I want you to find scratch and dent, furniture stores, appliance stores in Houston. Give me the links and the price. And those can take hours to do. And the next, same day or next day, I already have the links ready. I don't even, right now, it's like waiting for me to review. I need to spend the time to review them, just decide what I want to buy, essentially.
Yeah. And even then, when they come back with a huge list, say, okay, do the reviews, look at the reviews and whittle it down to half. Like you can start like really fine tuning it, but we spend so much time researching and making decisions that someone else can actually give us the data for. Yeah. And it's just, this is not a skill that you hold unique to yourself.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Now there are skills that you hold unique to yourself, your voice, your message. Those things are what you really need to be spending your time on. So we'll talk more about that later.
Yes. And you gave me an idea. Yes, I need to give them Instacart. So for all those people saying, what, I don't want to give them like Amazon account password. There's the program called LastPass. You can share the password anonymously, and you can take back the permission whenever you're ready. So as another example, I needed like bilingual children's book or encyclopedia. Send me all of the top rated ones. And then he sent me the list, and I was like, well, actually, just go into Amazon, add them to my cart so I don't have to do it.
Exactly.
So that was really amazing. That was clutch. So we talked about personal help. And now let's talk about, briefly on business help or and social media. What can the VA do for you?
Wow, this is almost limitless. So it can be for, like coaching or building your own brand, but I want to also lift the lid off some of the referrals you sent me. I hired them a billing specialist for their practice. They actually took and replaced, they had a need for a billing specialist. I think they're probably saving about $50,000 a year. I found someone with extensive healthcare billing experience who just stepped in and was like top notch. And I mean, I don't think it was more than $1,000 a month, without payroll taxes and everything else. So lift the lid on what you think can be done, because there's people who already have skills, very high level skills in here, who can come into your practice or your business and really kind of help. But as far as business, holy moly, it's off the charts. Updating your website, doing back end SEO, updating your Google My Business every week, like 3 times a week. But places to start, like if you're trying to build a social media presence or your website, let me just give you like a really awesome starting place, because your person needs to know what you do. First, have them go listen to your podcast, like literally pay for them to listen to your podcasts. What better way for them to understand your voice and your message? Pay for it. Just do it. Just suck it up and do it. Then pay for them to audit everything you do. I want you to audit my Facebook page, my group. I want you to audit my Instagram, my LinkedIn. Go research best practices, best things now, and tell me where it needs improvement. Now you have a whole list of things for them to do. They come back and, hey, your banner should really say this, and the colors right here aren't working here. This is real. I'm giving you real examples of what's worked for me. And then can I have permission to change these? Yeah, make 4 versions and share them with me. And then, again, you go through that process. Oh, there's the 4. I love this one. I like this one. I would like a combination of them. Boom, it's done. And you're like, wow, my Facebook looks a lot better. My LinkedIn banner actually fits the right size, or whatever it may be. So spend that first upfront, especially in business stuff, letting them look at your website, looking at best new things, and then telling you what they're finding. So you can have massive improvements in your content that's out there already in that manner alone. And then there's weekly reports, bookkeeping, oh my gosh, answering emails, organizing and prioritizing emails for you, which is a major time suck. I had one client that's like, just by having a VA do my email management, like there's $1 million deals that I actually have missed because my email is so, this is a big business, but there's so many frequent comes. I miss these deals, these opportunities. It's like hiring a VA could literally make me like $5 million extra a year. So you got to think of like what kind of things are overwhelming you, and you're like, oh, I got to do that. Well, stop it. Put a system in place. Managing your calendar. Like, hey, you do this, Ann, you're great. Hey, Kelmer, set up an appointment for Scott to be on a podcast. He's doing all of the stuff. And then I'm like, hey, Kelmer, that hour doesn't work. I'm so sorry. And then he rearranged it. He's looking at your calendar. So it just goes on and on and on. Now, social media, we talked about that on the last podcast. Go listen to that. But they can be doing interactions for you, and definitely start with a modeling technique where they're saying, what should I say here? And then, this modeling thing, so they kind of get to know your voice. They can be doing those interactions. If you're a podcaster or do videos, they can be making micro content out of that and posting it out, and then studying the algorithms and continuing to improve. We've talked about all this stuff. The list goes on and on, and it's insane. Like, build a course for me. Like right now I have my VA building a course. I have done all the videos, and they're just sitting there, and I can monetize this thing. It's a how to start your podcast course. like prop it up for me. I don't have to figure it out. I just do it. And so, like I said, once you kind of get the hang of it, it's even things that you wouldn't do that you really should be doing. If you're spending money on ads, have them calculate ad spend or clicks, sales per dollar or whatever, lead acquisition costs, whatever it is. Data is power in business, and knowing where every dollar is going and having a report on that is incredible.
If you don't have time to follow up on how your posts are doing, I have my VA do a monthly report of all the follows, or which post did well, what content did well. And it's very important that it's not you can leverage them to go research and teach you. You don't need to teach them. So as an example, with TubeBuddy, it helps optimize, SEO optimize your title and your content of your YouTube shorts, so YouTube videos. And he went in, I didn't know anything about it. You're the one who introduced me to it. So he grew my channel from 17 followers to now over 100, almost 200 now, just by using that method. And he recorded a loom. Yeah, he recorded an instructional video to show me how it's done. So
and that's another thing. Like, don't learn something to implement it. Like literally, when I hire somebody, a VA for somebody, do you have a project management system you use? No, you don't. Okay, your VA might actually already have experience in this. If they don't, have them go sign up for free trials, try them out, decide which one they like, and then give you a report, give you the cost analysis, give you a report, and then have them set it up. Shoot SOPs, shoot videos for you on how to do it, or teach you how to do it. Stop thinking you have to be the one to make the decision. And, for me, like SEO, I don't even know where to start. Hey, find a course, tell me how much it costs that is really effective, take the course and start doing the work. And VAs love being paid to learn. Because if your job ever goes away, they now have that on their resume. They now have that and say, I can actually do SEO. So it adds value for them, but it adds a lot of value for you. So you can pay them to learn, to improve everything you're doing, or to implement new things for sure.
Yeah. And another category I've leveraged VAs is like in real estate. So we talked about social media, personal business growth, but in real estate, a lot of times where there's so many deals that are coming through, sometimes you get a list of, 50, 60 deals. And I've actually shared with my VA on how to screen them by a very basic calculation. It used to be the 1% rule, but I cut it off at 0.6% rule. Just by doing that, for them to go on Rentometer, doing that, screening out the best deals for you that meet the criteria. And then I taught him how to do the cash on cash calculator. In the beginning, of course, there were some guidance to how to do it. There was a course some videos I actually share with him to go tell him to go learn this. And we walked through a few deals together. And, just the act of putting numbers that's already in the listing into an Excel sheet is not something that you need to do. What you need to do is actually look at the Excel and analyze it, making sure all the assumptions are correct. And then, see if you're going to make an offer. And also just yesterday, I said, go email top 5 property management companies in Asheville and Colorado and Austin and agents too. And at first I told them, go find me the listing, the number. And I was like, well, no, actually just go email them for me and just CC me, because I'm not going to do it.
And so you're a really great example of taking somebody who has a little bit of experience and really helping them expand and really guiding them through. Just this week, I hired a VA for a couple who's in real estate, and this VA had years and years of real estate knowledge. And like when we got on and in the introduction, their eyes just went like this, because she's like, oh, I know how to make offers. I know how to change offers. I know how to do this research. She's using all the real estate lingo way over my head. And you can just see them like, we just hit a gold mine. Like our learning can go way down. We can learn from them. Like, oh yeah. And I've actually negotiated deals. I mean, like depending on how much you're wanting to pay, you can buy a certain level of expertise where they're actually teaching you things so that you can really just focus on the few things you need to focus on to build your portfolio. So there's those two approaches, right? And they're both incredibly effective.
And I think that's like the perfect segue into the processes, right? So number one, like, okay, you're saying that the VAs can be amazing. They can do so many things for us, but really, how much does it cost for a full-time VA? 8 hours a day, 40 hours a week. How much does it actually cost? What are the ranges? And what exactly is the recruiting process are we talking about here that, at least for you, that you provide?
So the ranges, I talked to someone today that said their hourly was $2.18. And so I was like, whoa. I told her, I'm like, hey, look, I know you're new into this, but you need to start at $3. so I would say $3 is usually a beginner VA. If you are the type of person like Anne, who's willing to take on that challenge and walk somebody through and be patient, and you have that kind of that mindset, that teacher mindset, then go that route. Because if you're hiring someone like me, I'm not looking for somebody that has all the experience. I'm looking for somebody who has the ability to learn, the mindset to learn, and just the base skill sets that shows, yes, they probably can get to this point. Now, like I said, I did a billing expert. I've also done a real estate expert, and I'm doing an executive assistant, like a real CEO level executive assistant. Those range from like $800 a month full time to about $1,600 a month. And then I've talked to people that charge $3,000 to $5,000 a month, but those are programmers. Those are really high level people that if you hired in the US would cost you $10,000 to $20,000 per month to contract. And so it really depends on the skill. The magic place right now, there seems to be a shift. It's going a little higher. I don't know if all the freelancers in are kind of collaborating or what, but I'm not seeing much under $4 an hour anymore. But if you do full time, you say, hey, look, at first I might not have 40 hours a week for you, but I want you to be only focused on me. What will that take? They'll come back with a $4 or a $3 an hour if they're beginning, because it's consistent income. They don't have to find 5 jobs to fill the gaps. That's very highly desirable. And then I would say your sweet spot for somebody who's been in the BPO industry, where they know how to talk very fluently, they know how to type very fluently. Then you're looking at $6-7 an hour. But again, guys, don't be thinking in the terms of America. You're thinking in terms of a 1099. It's not a 1099. It's a little different form for overseas, but it's a tax write-off for you. And the exchange rate is very highly in your favor still. And so, and the other thing I want to talk about, you didn't ask this, but the other thing I want to talk about is the fact that, well, you're paying them so low, this is like slave labor. No. What we're paying them is so much higher than what they would be getting. And most of my VAs have professional degrees and professional licensure. I have like 4 licensed physical therapists. 2 of them are licensed in the US. They traveled to the US, got licensed, and they still make more money doing work for me. So you're actually really, really leveraging that American dollar, and it's really in their favor. Also, traffic in the Philippines, especially, just to get to work is usually 1 hour to 3 hours one way, because the traffic is so intense. And so they really want to work from home, and they get to be with their family. And family is culturally, it's very, very tight knit, very important. So your impact in people's lives is massive. It's really cool. Actually, I've really gotten to know my team really well, and been able to influence them for health. Like, get to the gym, take a day off. You get to positively influence them, because we're all people that really look at like personal development and stretching our mindset, like improving your mindset. I'm sure yours, Anne, is growing so much just by working at you, like what I actually can do and what I can achieve. And so the impact is massive. Now, the hiring process, I'm going to tell you guys what I do, because I'm happy to tell you, because you won't want to do it. I go on to the online listings that have specifically Filipino individuals who want to do freelance work or contract work. I put out an ad, and I've worked time and time again on these ads, and they're rather long, but through them, they're laced and very explicit on the requirements, the pay, the requirements, the mindset, the mentality, the type of scope of work, but I don't go like you need to be an SEO expert, because then I'm only going to get the $13 an hour people. But I say, hey, like maybe an interest in SEO or some experience in SEO. But in that long listing, I have so many specific, very specific instructions. I need a screenshot of your internet speed. I need, send me, X, do not send me your resume. And then at the very end, I'm like, do not reply through this service, send your application directly to me at my email. And here's the subject. So what I've done now is I get emails, hundreds, that just start coming in. If that subject line isn't the exact way I asked, like I'll do it all caps sometimes just to see if they do it. If it's not the exact way I asked, I throw it away. I don't even look at it, because I'm looking for somebody who can follow instructions. Then once I get through that, I go in and I look at it and make sure, okay, did they do X? Yes, throw those away. They didn't do it. Then I go and do this. They look at that. Oh, okay, weed it out to another half. They miss one thing on that application. They're just rushing. And I want people who are paying attention. And so I throw all those away. Now I'm down to about 20 applications, and then I go read them, and I read them carefully. And then I email them all back with very specific questions and indicating consistency and that they actually still can follow directions. And I have them shoot me a video of themselves. Sell me yourself in a 1-minute video. So we're getting over that super shy, because I've had really amazing VAs that are super, super shy, but they don't communicate with me. And it's like you're working with a ghost. Things just show up and you're like, but it's a nightmare. They're amazing workers, but they're so shy they won't talk. So I do a video. Once I get past that, I usually ask them another question. So I'm interacting through the email. I'm looking for consistency in language, because I've had people have other people write their emails. I've had interviews where they were cut off right at their cheek on their video, and I could hear their mother whispering the answers in their ear. And so once I get down to about 10 for one application, I'll interview them all. And they have to have video on. I tell them not to dress up, just be yourself, be in your regular location. And I'm looking for a lot of different things. I'm looking for their behavior. I'm looking for how nervous they are. And I put them at ease in the beginning. I ask one thing I do, and anybody who wants to take this can, the very first thing I do is I say, do not tell me about your work. Do not tell me about your qualities. I want to know about you personally. And about 30% will say, I graduated they'll start reading a script. And I'm like, hey, that's not what I asked you. So they don't understand English good enough to not be scripted out. And then I'm like, nope, I don't say right there. I'm really nice. I let them kind of go through their thing. I'm like, okay, thank you. But that means they're not prepared to do what I'm asking them to do. Someone comes in is like, oh, I love dogs. I have a daughter. And then I find out where they live. And in the Philippines, it's incredibly important to find out where they live, because that will say how consistent their power and their internet's going to be. And then I have questions about backup power, backup internet, what kind of internet. I know all these things. I know where they should live, where the best workers come from as far as consistency of those resources. So it's a very in-depth process. Yeah.
Wow. That is very detailed, and I can see why I didn't get top-notch VAs the first 2 times, because I did not do that. And that's why this one is working out so much better. So thank you so much. Were you going to say something else about the process?
It's long. There's more to it than that.
So as you can tell, Scott has a ton of experience from prior hiring process, screening VAs, to know what to look for, attention to detail, following instructions. And I would say that I sent an interview task to the VA that he had was interviewing, and he definitely followed directions even better than some of the other US-based contractors from Fiverr or Upwork. And there was a social media video that needed to be posted, and he actually did all of the captions manually. So, and it actually worked. All the spelling was correct. I think there was maybe I think all the spelling was correct. I was very impressed. And he went above and beyond for that task. So you can tell a lot about, just by how they respond and how, it sounds like Filipino VAs also, they want to do well. They want to be honorable and they're honest. So, and those are some of the traits that I've seen as well. And what would you say? And the other thing I want to point to touch on, you have mentioned regarding the price, so at the lower level VAs, you're talking, say $3 an hour, $24 a day to $32 a day. Now, I've hired people on TaskRabbit and it's like minimum 1 hour, like $20 to $25. And they have a 2-hour minimum for your job. So
Right.
not just 1 hour. So would spending $24 a day be worthwhile to you if they just get, 1 or 2 tasks done or 1 research task done that you could be spending, like it could save you like a few hours? Would that be worthwhile to you? That's what you want to ask. And then, so we talked about the cost and the process in recruiting VAs. And now, would you be able to touch a little bit on the onboarding process? What should people be using, the software? We talked about SOPs. And for those people who don't know, the standard operating procedures, the manuals. And so if you could talk a little bit about that as well.
Yeah. So your work is just, that's hiring and finding and getting through the contract, laying that out, because that's something I do as well. Negotiating, that's something I do for my clients. It's very time consuming. And then now you got this person, you're like, now what? So it's incredibly important to have a set of tools in place. And this is something I provide for everybody I hire too, or that I work for too, is how are you going to pay them? Because PayPal is not going to cut it. You're cutting way into their pockets if you're using PayPal. You're not going to keep them. How are you going to offload work to them? How are you going to manage that work? So, I recommend a system called Wise, and Wise is it's crushing on conversion. So your VA is actually getting paid what they're supposed to be getting paid, and you pay, I think, a 1% fee or something to that nature. It's very low. And then there's Loom is probably my best friend. Loom is a screen recording tool. You can use it on your phone. You can use it on your computer. It's an extension, and it literally will record your face, the screen, and your voice, or just the screen, or just your face. I like my face. I like to show my emotion. I like to remind them that I'm a real person. So I have my little face in the little corner, and then it's recording the screen, and I'm talking and I'm teaching them. Whether I need to have the screen or not, I always use Loom because they can speed it up, slow it down, replay it. And I talk to them and I'll say, I need a logo done. And here's some that I found. And I go through and I show them pictures. And here's the program. And here's kind of what I've gotten started. And so basically you're laying a foundation. And then if it's a repeated task, you're like, okay, here's what I do. First, I open this link. I type in and I add my password. And you're walking it through like you're teaching someone to do it. So then what you do is your expectation is every time you do this, they create an SOP. And that SOP should be so good that someone can come off the street and follow it and do the exact steps to have success, including a link to the video that you originally posted. So steps, screenshots, arrows, explanations, enter password here with an arrow, and like literally step by step. So while they've been learning it, they're actually solidifying it because they're creating a document. So Loom is a beautiful tool to use. There's other ones out there, other names, other brands. It's just the one that I use. So Loom is recording, some way of recording what you're doing. A project management, and I touched about this earlier, I think in the first one, but you may not have ever used a project management tool like Monday or Trello or Asana or Jira, or, there's so many. My recommendation to you is keep it super easy. Trello is super easy. It's what's called a Kanban board, where you just move things from one stage to another. Very visual. What this is doing is you can drop an assignment in there. And I even create a card on the far left that says future ideas. So I capture my ideas and put them there. Hey, you don't need to worry about them. Then when I want to move it, I move it into assignment, and then they move it into in progress. And then I have another board. If they get stuck, I'm stuck. Like, and write me a message and tag me, and then I can look in. Or I need review. So I have a review slot. So you can watch the whole process. You're not micromanaging them. You're not saying, where are you at? What are you doing? How is it going? You can see on there, if it's saying in progress for too long, hey, do you need to move this to I'm hung up or I have trouble? Like, then you know how to kind of ask. So project management tools really, really important. Trello is super easy to use. It's actually free until you grow the team big. But the best thing you can do is ask your VA, have you ever used anything? Is there something you love? Because a lot of them have used like 5 or 6 different ones. Which one do you recommend? Which one do you think would be best for us and why? Let them do that part. Let them set it up and then teach you how to use it. So project management, payment, Loom. I'm trying to think of some other things.
There could be Slack, WhatsApp. It depends
Yeah.
on you. Slack and
Yeah.
you can separate into your conversation to different channels and topic, so that in WhatsApp, sometimes your response to something, it's jumbled everywhere and you kind of have to scroll to a certain place if you have a lot of feedback. And you could do that in Trello as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. So project management. And then just like I said, start with big projects where they can kind of learn about you and just set your expectations and realize, like, look, if they take 8 hours to do a flyer, don't get mad. Just ask, hey, I see that it took 8 hours to create a flyer. What could I have done better to help you? Or they might be learning a brand new process. And the next time it may take 30 minutes. So you have to understand that micromanaging is probably not going to work in your best interest. You do need to keep an eye on it because, maybe they're stretching hours if you're paying them hourly. That's why I don't like paying hourly. But you do need to keep an eye on it because you want to reward them for efficiency and learning new things rather than like, other things. And then you want to give positive feedback. Really incredible. It's great to be very forward. Hey, or very honest. This isn't quite what I was experiencing. This isn't what I was wanting. And give that feedback, but also edify, lift them up. Give them, don't just go with negative because, we're running low on time here, but I do want to say VAs will disappear if they feel like they're failing you. A very high honor level. They want to honor you. They want to serve you, and they will just disappear if they think they've let you down. So if somebody disappears, there's one or a few things happening. One, they're having a massive weather system come through, and that does happen. Typically they have data on their phone, so they still should be able to let you know. 2, someone died and you didn't set the standard. Hey, if you have an emergency, just shoot me a really quick message. Their instinct is just to go do and then let you know afterwards. For some reason, I don't get it. I think it's accepted there. Like if someone dies or you have an emergency, you just leave. You don't need to follow through with anything else. I've had to train them. No, you need to tell me so I know what's going on. I'm going to grant you that time, but just let me know. And so that's one of them. And then the other one is they feel like they've let you down and they can't perform the task. So if you give them a task that they don't feel like they can succeed at, they're either going to dig their heels in and be like, no, we can't do it this way. Like they're going to try and redirect you, or they're going to disappear because I don't want to let that person down. And for them, it's more honorable just to give up, and you'll get a resignation email. And I've turned people back from resignation emails while I was learning that, like, whoa, let's hop on a Zoom because face-to-face is, and let me hear what's going on. And then you're like, oh, like they're feeling like they're failing me. I need to be better at responding to them and lifting them up and guiding them and coaching them. This is a human, and this job means so much to them that they would rather stop and find someone else than continue on and let you down. Even though now I tell my team, if you walk away, you're letting me down much more than if you tell me I can't do this project. So just knowing and communicating those things is incredibly important.
Yeah, there are so many pieces in there. The first thing I want to talk about is recording on Loom, and you can record a video on Loom and tell him to go into Loom and organize them into manuals for you of the Loom videos and rename them for you so you don't have to do it. Number 2 is really empowering them instead of picking, like you said, like for example, a social media video was taking 4 hours, and I talked to him, and it turned out it was we were doing manual captioning. So we started experimenting with some auto captioning. So always find out, hey, the question to ask is, what is taking the longest, or what is making this task more difficult for you, and how can we make it easier? Number 3, yes, like empowering them, letting them make decisions. What would you like? What would you prefer to use? What project management tools, or, would you like me to show it this in a different way that's clearer for you? Video is better than audio, and audio is better than just text, because you can a lot of times you could give way better instructions than audio and video, essentially. And that, to always empower them, to bring them up, to look back like the gain and not the gap. Like, hey, you grew my channel from 17 followers to over almost 200. Thank you so much. Now let's see how we can up level it, and let's set another goal to 300 to 400. So that's kind of like a very quick summary. Did I miss anything?
No, it was phenomenal. I love that quick summary.
Okay. And so where can people find you if they want to learn more about you, or, help you, for you to help them to find the right VAs, to, let them shine in their excellence, to leverage, their zone of excellence?
Yeah. I love face-to-face. Like, I love Zoom because I want to see somebody. It's just one of my kind of like core values is real interaction. So you can email me at scott@mediamachine.info. And the first thing I'm going to do is like, let's get on some sort of calendar so that we can talk face to face, or on the phone, something a lot more personal than sending you a video or to a website. So scott@mediamachine.info, or you can contact Ann, or probably shouldn't have said that, but Ann, you should put my contact in your show notes.
Yes, actually. So, a call to action really after this is think about what in your life right now that you don't want to do, or you have resistance in doing, that you really wish that somebody can just help you, my wife, so that I can spend more time with my baby after I have my first son. So take a look at that. Then go on to itsnotrocketscienceshow.com, go on the show notes, and it will have, the summary of what we talked about. You can go on YouTube. We have the video replay, and also Scott's contact Scott, and just get on a Zoom call with him, and how you can, figure out how he can help you to give you back your time, essentially. Yeah. So thank you so much. I really appreciate your time, Scott. You're so valuable in terms of like social media and VAs, and also your podcast. What's your podcast and your Facebook group?
Yeah, Stories That Sell podcast is entrepreneurs, business owners sharing their stories, how they got started, what their journey has been, a lot of like leaving nuggets and value for for the listeners. And then I have, if you're a family person, the Brotherhood of Fatherhood, that's my passion project. And Facebook, Scott Rammage, Rammage, Instagram, same. And then I have groups. So I talk about those in my Facebook and Instagram. So.
All right. So lots of ways you can find Scott. And again, just remember that everything is within you now.
That's it for today's episode. Head on over to iTunes and subscribe to the show. One lucky listener every single week that posts a review in iTunes will win a chance in the grand prize drawing to win a private VIP day for a health and life makeover with Dr. Tsung herself. Then be sure to head on over to itsnotrocketscienceshow.com and pick up your free gift from Dr. Tsung. Then join us on the next episode.